Shabbat Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, as well as honor to the men under the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect and those who hope to be of that number. Hotel quarantine rules. Travelers threatened with 10 years in jail for breaking red list travel restrictions. Matt Hancock says he makes no apology for the strength of the measures as he sets out quarantine hotel plans. The article was put up today on February 9th, 2021, 4:05 p.m. I will leave the link to this article from iNews in this side, the description box.
The three parts are as follows: hotel quarantine, testing and enforcement. First, Mr. Speaker, we're setting up a new system of hotel quarantine for UK and Irish residents who've been in red list countries in the last 10 days. In short, this means that any returning residents from these countries will have to quarantine in an assigned hotel room for 10 days from the time of arrival. Before they travel, they'll have to book through an online platform and pay for a quarantine package costing £1,750 for an individual travelling alone, which includes the hotel, transport and testing. This booking system will go live on Thursday, when we'll also publish the full detailed guidance. Passengers will only be able to enter the UK through a small number of ports that currently account for the vast majority of passenger arrivals. When they arrive, they'll be escorted to a designated hotel, which will be closed to guests who aren't quarantining for 10 days or for longer if they test positive for COVID-19 during their stay. We've contracted 16 hotels for an initial 4,600 rooms, and we will secure more as they are needed. People will need to remain in their rooms and of course will not be allowed to mix with other guests, and there'll be visible security in place to ensure compliance alongside necessary support, so even as we protect public health, we can look after the people in our care. Second, Mr. Speaker, we're strengthening testing. All passengers are already required to take a pre-departure test and cannot travel to this country if it is positive. From Monday, all international arrivals, whether under home quarantine or hotel quarantine, will be required by law to take further PCR tests on day 2 and day 8 of that quarantine. Passengers will have to book these tests through our online portal before they travel. Anyone planning to travel to the UK from Monday needs to book these tests, and the online portal will go live on Thursday. If either of these post-arrival tests comes back positive, they'll have to quarantine for a further 10 days from the date of the test, and will of course be offered any NHS treatment that's necessary. Any positive result will automatically undergo genomic sequencing to confirm whether they have a variant of concern. Under home quarantining, the existing test-to-release scheme, which my right honourable friend, the Transport Secretary, has built so effectively, can still be used from day 5, but this will be in addition to the 2 mandatory tests. The combination of enhanced testing and sequencing has been a powerful weapon through this pandemic, and we'll be bringing it to bear so we can find positive cases, break the chains of transmission, and prevent new cases and new variants from putting us at risk. Third, Mr. Speaker, we'll be backing this new system with strong enforcement of both home quarantine and hotel quarantine. People who flout these rules are putting us all at risk. Passenger carriers will have a duty in law to make sure that passengers have signed up for these new arrangements before they travel and will be fined if they don't. And we'll be putting in place tough fines for people who don't comply. This includes a £1,000 penalty for any international arrival who fails to take a mandatory test, a £2,000 penalty to any international arrival who fails to take the second mandatory test, as well as automatically extending their quarantine period to 14 days, and a £5,000 fixed penalty notice, rising to £10,000 for arrivals who fail to quarantine in a designated hotel. We're also coming down hard on people who provide false information on the passenger locator form. Anyone who lies on the passenger locator form and tries to conceal that they've been in a country on the red list in the 10 days before arrival here will face a prison sentence of up to 10 years. These measures will be put into law this week, and I've been working with the Home Secretary, the Border Force and the police to make sure that more resources are being put into enforcing these measures.
So you heard what Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary of the UK, said. He mentioned that you can get up to 10 years in jail if you refuse to, quarantine at a designated hotel. Returning travelers who lie about having just visited a red list country with infectious new Crown variants have been warned they face a prison sentence up to 10 years. The stringent punishment. What does this word mean? Stringent.
Swinging.
Severe or extreme size, amount, effect. Stringent cuts in public expenditure. Severe, extreme cuts in public expenditure. So the severe, extreme punishment was announced by Health Secretary Matt Hancock as he detailed moves to tighten border controls to prevent mutant strains of the infection reaching the United Kingdom. United Kingdom is UK. 6 quarantine hotels will open on Monday to new arrivals from 33 red list countries, including Brazil, South Africa and Dubai, where security will be on hand to stop them leaving their rooms. They will be charged £1,750 in advance to cover the cost of their stay, testing and the transfer to their accommodation. People coming back from other destinations will be required to take 2 Crown tests at their own expense during their 10 days of self-isolation. The tests will be conducted on their 8th and 2nd and 8th day in quarantine. Mr. Hancock told the Commons, "I make no apologies for the strength of these measures, because we're dealing with one of the strongest threats to our public health that we've faced as a nation. The measures will come into effect on Monday in England," although Mr. Hancock said similar schemes were being designed by the Scottish and Welsh governments. A stay in your room order. Again, I will leave the link to this article in the description box, but you can see the scripture I've got prepared, Isaiah 10:1, because this is an unrighteous decree. It's grievous. Up to 10 years in prison and up to a £10,000 fine. Isaiah 10:1. Isaiah chapter 10 verse 1. Woe, destruction unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. I'm going to get decrees and grievousness. Decrease in the Hebrew. The Hebrew word for decrease here is haqaq. Haqaq. You might say haqaq. Haqaq. Thoughts, decrees, decree, resolve, statute, action, prescribe. Haqaq. From H2710, an enactment, a resolution. Things, haqaq. Hebrew Chaldean lexicon, haqaq. Decrees, things determined. From H2710, haqaq, same thing, to cut out. Decree, inscribe, set, engrave, portray upon. Trace, mark out, to engrave, inscribable law. One who decrees a law given, something decreed the law. Primitive root, properly to hack, i.e. engrave. To be ascribed simply by implication to enact laws being cut in stone or metal tablets in primitive times, or generally prescribe, appoint, decree, governor, grave law giver, portray, print, set. Haqaq, to cut into, to hack. Grievousness. I, Malach, mal. Toil, trouble, mischief, toil, labour, heavy, wearisome labour, wearing effort, hence worry, whether of body of mind, grievance, iniquity, labour, mischief, miserable, perverseness, sorrow, toil, travail, trouble, wearisome, wickedness. Going back to Isaiah 10:1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have ascribed. Destruction unto them that decree unrighteous laws, and that write wickedness, wearisome, toil, travail, perverseness which they have prescribed. Because it's weary and it's troublesome. Imagine paying £10,000 out of your pocket for breaking these quarantine rules. Travellers threatened with 10 years in jail for breaking red list travel restrictions. You came into the country, they got these laws that are oppressive, unfair. You can check out all the Bible translations. Use discernment. Just be circumspect, and yes, use discernment. Woe to those that decree unrighteous decrees, who write misfortune which they have prescribed, which they have wrote. Because they're writing these laws into existence. He mentioned that it's going to come into law at a certain day. Woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees. Yes, lucky about the grievousness, wickedness, wearisome, oppressive, unfair laws. Which, woe to them, destruction unto them that decree unrighteous laws, and that write oppressive, wearisome, which they have prescribed, which they have wrote. Because they're writing these laws into existence. And just to double check, we'll get the Hebrew word for prescribe. Katab, kathab. Ka-tha-ba. It's not ta. It's tha. Ka-tha-ba. Kathab. Yeah, it's wrote. Basically decree to be written down. So, once more, Isaiah 10:1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievances which they have prescribed. Woe unto them that decree, that write, that decree unrighteous laws, and that write oppressiveness, wearisome, which they have wrote down. They've wrote down these wicked, oppressive, unfair laws that are wearisome to these people, paying 10,000 out of pocket, getting up to 10 years in prison, paying up to 10,000. And so, this is going to put people off trouble. You can already see now, they've wanted it for a bit of time, where you've got to take a test if you want to travel. If you want to travel abroad, if you want to travel from one country to another place, from one country to another country, guess what? You got to take those tests. So if you say no to the test, then say goodbye to traveling. We know after this testing, it's going to be the max. And after the max, it's going to be the mark of the beast, to travel. So say goodbye to traveling around the world. Because you're never going to be able to do that without getting tested, without getting implanted. Because after these tests, it's going to be these max, the max getting cut into your skin. Then it's going to be the microchip implanted, and the implant is done by cutting into your skin. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully this video was edifying. Until next time, shalom.